Hello and welcome to another episode of the Reading Roundup. Well, I will cover the 10 books that I read in the month of May, plus a DNF. So, first things first is 6 Wakes by Mur Lafferty. So 6 clones wake up to their own dead bodies, and we have to figure out who killed them and why. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a good kind of twisty, that it made sense. What I really enjoyed is that it got into the ethical, political, and social implications of cloning, because it wouldn't just seamlessly fit into society. There would be pushback. There would be laws that would have to be passed. And I thought that felt really, really real. It felt a little too neat, a little too quick at the end. So I did bump it down from 5 to 4 stars, but I still really enjoyed this. So next was Recipes for an Unexpected Afterlife by Deston J. Munden. This follows a undead orc who was the harbinger of doom against his own will. And he is allowed to kind of retire from being this undead guard. And so he starts a restaurant, and it's really cute. But it was so saccharine. Like, it got really annoying how saccharine it was. So when there were conflicts, it just felt really unrealistic. There's, spoiler alert, there's a kidnapping plot in like the 11th hour, and it just felt unrealistic. It did not feel like anything that would make sense for this plot line. It got weirdly dark, but for like 2 seconds, whereas I would have personally preferred it to be not so sweet, not so neat, but to actually be a little more realistic. So I gave that one a 3 out of 5. Next up was One for the Money by Janet Evanovich. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not read this in good faith. This is about a woman who is down on her luck, decides to try her hand at being a bounty hunter. It's also made into a movie with Katherine Heigl. I have not watched that either. But it sounded bad from the blurb. She has to go and find the guy who happened to be the guy that took her virginity. And that's, I don't know, it sounded bad from the blurb. This was a book club book. I went into it in bad faith. I knew I wasn't going to like it. And shocker, I didn't. I found it racist, which was surprising. I found it sexist, which wasn't. And it was really, really rapey. Like, so rapey. And this is supposed to be like this feel-good, cutesy, romp around sort of thing. And it was so creepy. Like, every man in this was either creepy or incompetent or both. And all the women were incompetent too. Like, our lead is an idiot. She stumbles her way through everything. And a quote, if I do say so myself, that I enjoyed from my own review was that she only gets by through miracles and men. A man has to save her like every other chapter. It was pathetic. So I gave it a 1 out of 5. I'm not reading anything like that again. No thank you. Next was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is my second R.F. Kuang book. This one is about a woman named June who is friends with a woman named Athena. They're both writers. Athena is the woman you all aspire to be. She's elegant. She's funny. She was a breakout star and just hits after hits after hits. And she dies in front of June by choking on a pancake. And June, as any good friend would do, steals her manuscript, which was just perfect, like, finished and everything. And then tries her best to fight her own demons, as well as the social pressures associated with this and the racket that is publishing. I really liked this. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was one of those things that just, the main character's not likable. She's pathetic. She's spiteful. She's not a girl's girl in the worst way. Athena seems wonderful. She seemed a little annoying. She might have gotten under my skin, who knows? But she seemed sweet enough. I don't think she deserved what happened to her, but June deserved everything that happened to her. So it ended up a little too neat. I think it would have been a 5. It was a 5 up until that last 2 or 3 chapters. It just was a little too goofy, a little too quick. And I thought it just made it a little messy. So 4 out of 5. My one and only DNF this month was Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. I just could not get into it. I liked None of This Is True, which is also by Lisa Jewell. I really enjoyed that. I burned through that in a day and a half. Loved that book. But this one just did not get me. I made it about halfway through before my library loan ran out. I had one of the little try your luck or whatever they call it, where it's only a week. And I couldn't do it. It was boring. Maybe it's better as an audiobook. I had the ebook. I just couldn't stand it. It was not gripping. It was not riveting like the blurbs said it was. I didn't like him, but I also just didn't care that he was doing this stuff. He's not a good person by any means. He's an awful person. But I didn't care. I didn't care what he was doing. Nothing gripped me. So, DNF. Next was Yesteryear by Caro Burke. This is about a tradwife a la Ballerina Farms that is sent back to the 1800s, back to the time she claims that she wants to live in, that she is emulating, and obviously things go awry. Even from the blurb, I found myself thinking, okay, what's the plot of this? And it doesn't really have one. It does, but it doesn't. A lot of our time is spent in her past, in Natalie, the main character's past. We learn about kind of why she is the way she is, how she met her husband, how she made her empire. And that was really interesting. But then everything about the 1800s part just felt unnecessarily violent. And the word that kept coming to mind when I was reading this and listening to this was mean-spirited. Natalie's incredibly mean-spirited. She's just a genuinely bad person. She's deeply unpleasant towards her husband, towards the women in her life, to her children to an extent. And so a lot of bad things happen to her. She's hurt quite a few times in the 1800s, including by this man. And it just felt inappropriate. Like, I don't think she deserved the things that were happening to her per se. Like, she's not a good person, but am I supposed to cheer when she slaps so hard that she does lose consciousness? She doesn't almost lose consciousness. She's knocked out. Like, all these bad things happen to her, and it just felt like mean. And I didn't feel good reading it. This isn't a type of person that I want to emulate. I don't like that type of person either. I think they're just as fake as this woman does. But I didn't feel good reading this book. So it was a 2 out of 5. Next up was Near the Bone by Christina Henry, which is a creature feature in the wilderness, in the woods. A woman and her husband think that they are alone, only to discover they're not, and whatever it is kind of stalking them. I have been looking for a creature feature, and I am disappointed again. Great book. It was so good. The audiobook narrator was fantastic. She really had me stressed out. I live in the desert. I live right outside of Saguaro National Park. I do not live in the mountains. I don't live anywhere near the mountains. I don't think I've ever really been on a proper mountain, like snowy mountain. But was I stressed? Yes. Was I just like, this Yeti monster thing is like breathing down my neck? Yes. There is a part where she describes looking up and seeing the glint of eyeballs. Oh, and then my son, of course, cried in the middle of the night that night, because of course he did. And I was just a little squicked out. It was so good, the first half of it, and the second half of it just kind of dipped down quite a bit. We focused a lot more on the people and not so much on the creature. And that was just a little disappointing, so I'm still looking for my creature feature. But it was still a solid 4 out of 5. Next up was A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. This is about hell, which is a library full of gibberish, and you have to find a book that is actually something. I think you have to find your own life story. And there are billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of books. And so it follows a singular man going through that journey. And it was just okay. I was just kind of bored. It's very, very short. I finished it in a day. It was fine. I didn't care. I didn't care about him. I didn't care about the other people. The concepts are really interesting. Like, the mechanics of hell were really interesting. But it was just kind of a whelming book. I had been told it would stick with you and it resonates and you think about it. But I kind of let it slip out of my head as soon as I was done. So 3 out of 5. Next up is The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. This is about a woman who is a ghostwriter who is hired to ghostwrite for her own absent father, who she has not been in contact with in like 20 years or something. This was so good. It was so twisty. It had some unreliable narration, but it made sense because of some illness-related stuff. It had little blurbs from the past that were really well integrated. I loved this. It had a good plot twist that made absolute sense with both the characterization of the plot involved character and with the plot itself. Like, it shocked me, but of course, like, it made perfect sense. So 5 out of 5. That one was great. And then we kind of slip out of 5 territory with Water Moon by Samantha Sotto, Yambao. This one was fine. It's about a pawn shop owner. It's a magical pawn shop in which they own people's mistakes and their regrets, and they buy them from you, and they get sent off to another people that I'm not going to explain right now. But things go awry. Her father goes missing, and beautiful set dressing. We go to a lot of really interesting places, a lot of really interesting concepts. Like, there's a village where they paint the stars out of little kites and everything, and that's how the night sky gets formed. And there's a tea shop with, like, made of dreams, and it's really cool stuff, but it was all fluff, no substance. Beautiful set dressing, boring characters, shallow interactions, and it tried really, really hard to be a deep look at choice and freedom, and it isn't. We had so many interesting places. We went all over the place, but we spent such little time in each place that it was just like, bink and it's gone, bink and it's gone, bink and it's gone. And that was so disappointing. Every conflict felt like it was resolved within a chapter or 2, at the absolute most. Some of these were resolved within sentences. And that's just not how I want my books to resolve. So it was a 3 out of 5. It was really pretty, but just very shallow. The last book that I read this month was Road to Ruin by Hana Lee, and Natalie Naudis could read me the phone book. She could read me the phone book and I would be enthralled. This is probably like my 5th or 6th book that I've listened to from her. I adore her. I didn't even know when I picked this one up that it was her, and I was just like, Natalie, hello! But it is a courier who goes back and forth between 2 cities, and she is what's called a spark rider. So she can control a bike called a mage bike with mana, and there's this waste in between the cities, and she's just ferrying goods back and forth, and shenanigans ensue from there. I had a great time with this. I thought it was really fun. I thought the action was fun. There is a lot of bi panic in it, which was really interesting. A love triangle that's actually a triangle, so that was really fun. I want to read the next one, but I'm not going to bother yet. I want to wait a little bit. I thought it was a banger. 5 out of 5. So there you have it. Those are the 10 books and 1 DNF that I dealt with in the month of May. My stats for the month was a 3.4 for the month of May, bringing our grand total for the year to 3.31. So doing pretty good, kind of sitting pretty. I've had kind of some doozies. I actually went and counted all out. My highest rating has been a 3 so far this year with 11 books out of the 32. So that's kind of a bummer, but you can't win them all. But like, comment, subscribe if you're interested in following this journey that I'm on, trying to rediscover who I am, bumbling through things, enjoying life. So bye.